Will everyone please be seated? Members of the Platform Party, faculty, graduates, families, and friends, welcome to the 2013 Peabody College Diploma Award Ceremony. Today is the culmination of your work. We celebrate our time together, even as we look toward the future. Let me begin by introducing the members of the Platform Party. To my far left is William R. Doyle, Associate Professor of Public Policy and Higher Education. Will also chairs the Peabody Faculty Council. Also behind me is Robert H. Brunix, a Peabody alumnus and former president of the University of Minnesota. We will recognize Dr. Brunix shortly as our 2013 Distinguished Alumnus. Dr. Brunix will also give today's address to the graduates. To my right are two members of the Peabody faculty who are joining the ranks of Vanderbilt's Emeriti Faculty. Each of them has been instrumental in making Peabody College the leader it is today. On my immediate right is Vera Stevens Chapman, Professor of the Practice of Human and Organizational Development, Emerita. Next to Professor Chapman is Kathleen Hoover Dempsey, Professor of Psychology, Emerita. Finally, to my far right is Andrew Finch, Associate Professor of the Practice of Human and Organizational Development. Professor Finch will announce the graduates. I'd like to say a few words about our Emeriti faculty. This year, the university is conferring Emeriti status on 8 Peabody faculty members. In addition to Professor Chapman and Professor Hoover Dempsey, they are Leonard Bickman, Professor of Psychology, Emeritus; David Cordray, Professor of Psychology, Emeritus; Paul R. Dokecki, Professor of Psychology and Human Development, Emeritus; Carolyn Hughes, Professor of Special Education, Emerita; Howard Sandler, Professor of Psychology, Emeritus; and Mark Woolery, Professor of Special Education, Emeritus. Each of these 8 individuals has put their own indelible stamp on Peabody College, as well as on their disciplines. Vera Chapman, even before her time at Peabody, was a leader in several capacities at Nashville's Meharry Medical College. Here at Peabody, she was founding director of the MED program in Community Development and Action, and director of the Health and Human Services track in the undergraduate major in Human and Organizational Development. She has also served as Professor of Medical Education and Administration in the Vanderbilt University School of Medicine. Vera is the author of Bridging the Gap, a book on the complex history of relationships between Meharry and Vanderbilt. For her leadership, she has been recognized both locally and professionally. The Vera Stevens Chapman Award, given by the Bishop Joseph Johnson Black Cultural Center at Vanderbilt, rightly bears her name. Kathy Hoover Dempsey joined the faculty of Peabody in 1973. She has been known throughout her tenure for extremely high caliber of her teaching, evidenced especially by her commitment to undergraduates, for the quality of her research, and for her service to the Peabody and Vanderbilt. Kathy's research, much of it in partnership with Howard Sandler, has focused on parental engagement with children's education and its influence on learning. This work has informed efforts to strengthen education for children from low-income backgrounds, as well as English language learners. Vanderbilt has recognized her teaching with its Chair of Teaching Excellence Award, the Chancellor's Cup for her contributions to student-faculty relationships outside of the classroom, and the Ellen Gregg Ingalls Award for Excellence in Classroom Teaching. Kathy's service contributions have taken many forms, including as a member of the Faculty Senate, the Peabody Faculty Council, and the Executive Committee of the Graduate School Faculty Council, as Associate Dean for Academic Affairs and Graduate and Professional Programs, and as Chair of the Department of Psychology and Human Development. She has been the model faculty citizen. The Emeriti faculty members not on the stage this morning have made outstanding contributions of their own as scholars, as mentors, as teachers, as innovators, and as leaders. But will you now join me in acknowledging Vera, Kathy, and our other Emeriti? Now, to our graduates. We are here today because of you. We have come together to honor your intellectual achievements. You are the only ones who know the total cost of the years leading up to this moment. Each of you has committed time, effort, and precious resources. Many of you have pursued your degree on top of a full-time career or while raising children or caring for others. But you have persisted. You have studied. You have conducted research and presented your findings. You have written papers and completed practica and capstone projects. Each of you has accomplished something truly remarkable. Many of you have had the support that has helped you to reach this moment. Your parents, spouses, and partners, children, and friends have shared your dreams, and we honor their hard work and sacrifice too. Please join me in expressing our appreciation. "648 Peabody students are acknowledged in the university's commencement program, and 6 different degrees are being awarded today, including 48 PhDs, 24 EDDs, 275 master's degrees, and 301 bachelor degrees. Each of these degrees symbolizes intellectual effort, acquisition of knowledge, and the achievement of mastery. And because they are degrees from Peabody as well as Vanderbilt, they also symbolize a commitment on your part to put your intelligence and abilities to work in the service of others. Altruism is one of the core values of the Peabody tradition. The college has long promoted education for all, the disadvantaged as well as the privileged. Beginning in the late 19th century, teachers and administrators went out from George Peabody College to design, establish, and strengthen education in a region that sorely lacked for resources. In recent decades, the Peabody legacy has become ever more powerful as we have moved from regional to national and international leadership. Our vision situates learning in the broader context of human development, psychology, organizational excellence, and civic engagement. We concern ourselves with the families, institutions, and communities in which people live and work. We seek to prepare both scholars and practitioners who will add to our store of knowledge, strengthen private and public life, influence policy, and lead or reform institutions. We also have been conscious of our responsibility to the education and development of all people. Peabody faculty and students have long been committed to children and young adults with special needs, children who are at risk, and learners in parts of the world that are still working to establish effective systems of education. Today, you join almost 30,000 living Peabody alumni who are part of this amazing tradition. Commencement is an appropriate time for the college to recognize alumni who embody the values and practices we hope our graduates will emulate. The Distinguished Alumnus or Alumna Award recognizes significant career and community achievements, as well as a reputation of excellent character and a respected and ethical work record. This year's recipient is Dr. Robert H. Brunix. Robert Brunix received a bachelor's degree from Western Michigan University before earning his master's and PhD in educational psychology from Peabody College. In the 4.5 decades since he left Peabody, Bob has devoted himself as a faculty member and administrator to advancing the excellence of the University of Minnesota. He joined the university as a professor of educational psychology upon graduating from Peabody. He has also taught organizational leadership. In 1991, he became Dean of the College of Education and Human Development, a post he held until becoming the university's Executive Vice President and Provost in 1997. In 2002, he was named President of the University of Minnesota System and the Twin Cities campus. He served in that capacity until 2011. Under Bob's leadership, enrollment at Minnesota grew, graduation rates increased, and research grew from $520 million annually to more than $800 million. He also spearheaded a $340 million scholarship campaign and expanded need-based financial aid. And the university just won't let him rest. He is now Elmer L. Anderson, President Emeritus Chair in Educational and Civic Leadership at the Hubert H. Humphrey Institute of Public Affairs. Bob's service to education reaches far beyond the campuses of the University of Minnesota. He was founder and director of the Institute on Community Integration, which promotes interdisciplinary teaching, research, policy development, and outreach service programs. He also co-founded Minnesota's P20 Educational Partnership of state educational, civic, and business leaders. Bob has been chair of the Big Ten President's Council, a member of the National Collegiate Athletic Association Board of Governors, and a member of the Board of Directors of the Association of Public and Land-Grant Universities. He also received a presidential appointment to the Fulbright Foreign Scholarship Board. He is a fellow of the American Psychological Association, American Educational Research Association, American Psychological Society, and the American Association on Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities. In service to his community, Bob also serves on the boards of the Minneapolis Parks Foundation and the McKnight Foundation, and has been a trustee of the Mississippi River Fund. And that's just a sample of his involvement. Bob's ongoing commitment to reform and accountability in pre-K-12 and higher education has garnered him awards from organizations including the Kellogg Foundation, the Minnesota Association of Secondary School Principals, the Minnesota Elementary School Principals Association, and the Minnesota Association of School Administrators. Minnesota Monthly named him Minnesotan of the Year, and he was the first higher education and non-business leader to receive Executive of the Year from the Minneapolis-St. Paul Business Journal. As laudable as those many accomplishments are, perhaps most important, Bob is married to Dr. Susan A. Hagstrom, and they have 3 children and 4 grandchildren. Suffice it to say, for 45 years, Bob Brunix has represented the best of the Peabody tradition in discovery, in leadership, in preparing educators, and engaging with critical questions about how to better human conditions and the lives of individuals. Robert Brunix's outstanding career epitomizes what we hope today's graduates might make of their own. We are pleased to confer on him the 2013 Peabody College Distinguished Alumnus Award.
Well, good morning, everyone. I imagine you're all feeling very sad about the fact that we're not outside. For Susan and I, who's joining me to my left, this is really a treat. It's like going on a winter holiday. You may not know this, but we had in the month of late May, we had 2 feet of snow drop on us in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and all of northern lakes are frozen, including the one where we plan to drop a boat on the ice in the next few days. Anyway, Dean Benbow, thank you. Benbow, thank you for those very kind comments about my work. I only wish our 3 sons were here because they wouldn't have believed a word of it. But anyway, I'm really honored beyond what I can express to you today to be recognized in this very special way. And I'll make a couple of comments in a few moments as to why I feel so much that this is one of the high points of recognizing my work and the work of my colleagues in the last 45 years. So I'm deeply humbled, along with Susan, to accept the Peabody College 2013 Distinguished Alumni Award. And I can honestly say to all the graduates who are here, along with their dedicated family members and friends, people who have supported you on this path, that my experience here at Peabody College truly transformed my life, and it transformed my future. As I was preparing for this very special occasion, I was reminded of the leadership and excellence of Peabody College, characteristics which are captured beautifully in Paul Conklin's book, Peabody College, From a Frontier Academy to the Frontiers of Teaching and Learning. From its humble beginnings, Peabody College has always led the nation in the creation of ideas that are foundational to the development of human potential and educational experience across the lifespan. In 2012, Peabody was ranked #1 among colleges of education in the United States, and it was ranked #1 for the 4th consecutive year by U.S. News and World Report. At that time, your extraordinary leader and dean stated, "We are pleased to again be ranked #1. There is nothing more important to our children's well-being and our economic future than education. It is gratifying that Peabody's contributions to transforming education are seen as leading the nation." This statement would have been equally applicable in the fall of 1964 when I arrived to begin my graduate study at Peabody College. Some of you may recall this was a period of great turbulence in the United States. The faculty here at Peabody, Vanderbilt, and other colleges had drawn national attention for lunch counter sit-ins to affirm the rights of African American citizens in Davidson County and throughout the nation. These passionate scholars were also leading the nation in the creation of innovative ideas to advance human development in education. I had the rare privilege of working with many of these faculty members as a student here at Peabody College. At that time, Nicholas Hobbs was undertaking a major study on the futures of children. This effort examined the body of research, policy, and practice that at that time was considered essential to the healthy development of children in our society. It seems like an equally timely topic today as we discuss the future of our country. Lloyd Dunn served as my advisor, and he was named by President Kennedy to serve on the panel on mental retardation, a panel that developed a blueprint for the next 50 years of policy and practice that led to wide-scale expansion of rights and opportunities for citizens with disabilities. Susan Gray was one of the early pioneers here when I was a student in advancing early education and development of low-income children. Think about that for just a moment and think about the discussion that we are having today. It was an extraordinary academic atmosphere, an atmosphere characterized by unparalleled public long-term vision, strong national and global leadership, a culture that valued teaching and mentorship, and a college that emphasized the advancement of knowledge, interdisciplinary collaboration, and a high degree, as your dean has mentioned in her opening remarks, of public engagement. These are rare qualities: vision, leadership, collaboration, and engagement in order to address issues of profound importance in our society. These characteristics, these qualities, dominated the period in which I studied at Peabody. I'm remembering that great, as I came to Nashville, I recalled that I also, as a person trained in classical music, fell in love with country music. And I just want you to know that these were qualities that were rare in higher education then, and in some cases are rare today. And these are qualities that Peabody discovered before, as the song goes, before it was cool. And I say that as someone who came to admire Minnie Pearl and Flatt and Scruggs and spent a little time at Ryman Auditorium and in the honky-tonks right around the corner. These qualities that I think are so important are still part of the Peabody DNA today. This was, and this is, an excellent place. And for all of these reasons, it is an important moment for me, accepting this award from my alma mater, a college who has led the way for the nation for more than 100 years. The wisdom of Dean Benbow's remarks about the critical importance of education is nearly as old as civilization itself. As far back as ancient Greece, the philosopher Diogenes insisted that the foundation of every state, is the education of its youth. But we are at a crossroads in Tennessee, in Minnesota, in my home state, and across our nation. At a time when our aging population means fewer workers and more demand for health care and other services, our future workforce is increasingly comprised of socioeconomic groups that have historically not been well served by our educational systems. Now, when we need all hands on deck and every child achieving at his or her highest potential, our confidence in and support of schools is falling to historic lows. A Gallup poll from last summer shows the percentage of Americans confident in public schools at 29% today, down 5% from the previous years. 40 years ago, the percentage of Americans who had high confidence in public schools approached 60%. This is a 50% decline in 4 decades. This may be a reflection of our aging population with new priorities for government spending, including health care, entitlements, and public safety. But regardless of the root cause, today large-scale public problems are proving difficult to solve. The public rhetoric is so polarized, there seems to be no middle ground, and the public trust is proving difficult to earn and difficult to keep. I believe we need a return to public services and public commitment to government and increased civic leadership in our communities. And we must act with greater urgency, to address multidimensional problems, from the lack of civility and constructive engagement in our public discourse and political institutions, to the challenges of human rights, sufficient and sustainable sources of water, food, and energy, affordable access to health care, and of course, education. The neglect of education and the development of the nation's human capital may present for all of us our most daunting challenge. Fortunately, those of you who are here today, future leaders in our society, you understand that an investment in our young people is an investment in our future prosperity, an investment in our future quality of life. Psychologists have identified 3 characteristics that form the bedrock of a healthy, productive life: competency, connection, and contribution. I believe these attributes are equally important leadership qualities in advancing public purposes and public values. You can measure competence, cognitive abilities, literacy, mathematical proficiency, and other useful skills. And as a society, we tend to put our money where our measures are. But without direction and inspiration, our abilities achieve little. Competency only matters if it is applied. None of these 3 attributes, competency, connection, and contribution, can be developed in a vacuum. We only learn about our strengths, weaknesses, shared values, and divergent viewpoints by interacting with those around us. Only through connections do we develop a true sense of the relationship among ideas and a sense of ourselves, our abilities, our passions, and our potential to contribute. What's true of children is true of us as adults. Competency, connection, and contribution enable us to assume the mantle of leadership and truly make a difference in the world. Consider a personal hero of mine, University of Minnesota alumnus and Nobel laureate Norman Borlaug. Dr. Borlaug died in 2009 and was mourned around the world. He arrived at the University of Minnesota, a tough Iowa farm kid no one was sure could ever succeed at the University of Minnesota. From humble beginnings, he became a world-renowned plant pathologist and agricultural researcher, winning the Nobel Prize for saving hundreds of millions of people from starvation worldwide. How did he achieve such impact and recognition? He did so by developing new disease and climate-resistant crops and farming techniques, by sharing his discoveries and techniques freely with the populations he sought to help, and encouraging future research and education. And he did so by tirelessly lobbying foreign governments, often resistant to his ideas, to support new laws and policies that would enable agricultural practices that could ultimately sustain their populations. Borlaug's life illustrates the essential characteristics of strong public leadership, the characteristics of competence, the characteristics of building connections, and the commitment to making a difference, to making a contribution. Borlaug was dedicated to the life of the mind. He assumed responsibility for his own learning. He was intensely curious and passionate about advancing knowledge. From the time he arrived at the University of Minnesota, he was absolutely relentless in his pursuit of new ideas. He was a lifelong learner who continued to tackle tough problems, new problems, and challenge those around him, including me, well into his 90s, but when he thought we were on the wrong course. Borlaug had a persistent commitment to advancing the greater good. He was deeply committed to nations and people he sought to help and remained personally engaged in their future. He was an absolutely tenacious advocate for research methods, farming techniques, and public policies many other people disagreed with, all in the nature of feeding the hungry. Borlaug was driven to make a difference. He lived a purposeful life with great courage. He wanted to leave the world much better than he found it. He was distressed to see suffering, especially when he knew it could be alleviated. He firmly believed in the maximum of teaching people to fish. His life and work were not easy, but with a clear vision of what he hoped to achieve, he accomplished the absolutely incredible. In this way, he embodied the words of St. Francis of Assisi: start by doing what's necessary, then do what's possible, and suddenly you are doing the impossible. F. Scott Fitzgerald once said, "The first test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two opposing ideas in mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function. One should, for example, be able to see things that are hopeless and yet be determined to make them otherwise. We need more leaders with the ability to find the fertile middle ground. We need those leaders in order to move our communities, our country, and our world forward." This great college and this great university, our society, and the world needs your commitment, your continued commitment to serve, and we need your commitment to lead. As you leave here today, like Dr. Borlaug, we need you to dedicate yourself to the life of the mind. Commit yourself to advancing the greater good, and strive to make a difference each and every day. As Peabody graduates of 2013, I have every confidence that you will lead us to the bright horizon we all seek with very hopeful hearts. Thank you for this wonderful honor and the opportunity to be with you this morning.
Thank you, Bob. That was very inspiring. All right. We have finally come to that part of the ceremony for which we've all been eagerly assembled. So let me just say a few words about the awarding of diplomas and the colors worn by the graduates. The color of the velvet edging on the hoods identifies the degree: light blue for the education degrees and teal for the degrees in public policy. All hoods are lined with gold silk bearing a black chevron to signify that Vanderbilt University is the granting institution. Additional information regarding the regalia and symbols used in the ceremony may be found in the university program. Those persons awarded Doctorate of Education degrees will be assisted with their doctoral hoods by Professor Mimi Engel and John Braxton. The names and degrees are listed in the commencement program. Presentation of diplomas will follow the order of the degrees in the program, beginning with the Master of Education. Professor Finch, will you read the names of the degree recipients?
Recipients of the Master of Education and the Master of Public Policy degrees, please approach the platform. Oh, she is. Oh, gosh. Okay, that's fine.
Yes, I'm sure.
The following persons have earned the Master of Education degree: Ran Chen, Joanne Galbraith Albrecht, Sarah Masood Ali, Lauren Ann Allegra, Carrie Allison Amaralt, Megan Anderson, Leslie K. Arms, Heather Christine Backman, Jeff Bandel, Barrett Elizabeth Barr, Shara Elise Bellamy, Lena Camilla Benbow, Ellen Catherine Beverly, Dana Elizabeth Bolton, Marlo Harley Brandt, Allison Broadwater, Carolyn Swain Browder, Tala M. Bernison. Catherine Faye Butler. Jessica J. Capretto. Rui Chen. Sherja Joy Chang. Kimberly Brooke Chodnicki. Ashley Rebecca Church. John William Carleglio. Veronica Patricia Combs. Kelly Lynn Connors. May Macaulay Cooper. Jennifer Elizabeth Cunningham. Alexandra Diane Dalton. Marjorie Caroline Dalton. Jessica Lynn Decker. Matthew Lee Dolson. Lauren Rose Donnenfeld. Molly Elizabeth Druce. Elisa Dubiel. Jamie Christine Eldridge. Maritza Erazo. Natalie Michelle Erb. Emily Ann Feidel. Philip Franklin. Carrie Elizabeth Fry. Claire Elizabeth Garst. Catherine Ann Germer. Jessica Allison Gibbons Benton. Everett Bell Gibson III. Elizabeth Robinson Good. Abby Lynn Green. Joya Nichelle Hampton. Laura Lee Hardwick. Gabriela Francesca Martellino Herman. Claire Chatterdon Holman. Ji Hu. Rui Huang. Lauren Elizabeth Hurley. Catherine Elise Ifmidon. Jordan Nelson Jones. Kevin Wampler Jones. Elizabeth Greer Kelly. Ji-yoon Kim. Jeffrey Peter Saby King. Maggie Chandler Konich. Jordan Andrew Cook. Aria Guy Kopsenput. Aubrey Renee Kupler. Chan Mi Lee. Judith Ann Lewis. Chane Liu.